In this episode of Mind Shock, we're talking to Dr. Rod Fuentes from Santiago, Chile, who's going to share with us his insights and research into the Andean codes, a fascinating approach understanding the mind going back thousands of years through antiquity, and how it correlates, how it relates to quantum field psychology, and our new film, The Endless Question, being released very soon on streaming services all over the world.
Get ready for Mind Shock with Dr. Ron Dalrymple, the premier podcast in the world, bringing you hidden truths about your mind's incredible powers. Get ready to free your mind.
Welcome to another episode of Mind Shock. This is Dr. Ron Dalrymple. Today we have with us a guest, a great individual, human being, researcher, the higher aspects of the mind, Dr. Rod Fuentes. Dr. Rod, how are you?
I'm fine here, Dr. Ron. Thanks for inviting me to your special broadcast.
Well, thank you very much for being here. It's our pleasure to have you. I've known you for now, about 25 or maybe 30 years?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Right,
very nice time, very interesting and exciting time to meet you,
yes.
Dr. Ron.
Yes, my pleasure. We met through conjoint interest in the higher aspects of the mind, the higher powers of the mind, which is what we research in quantum field psychology. I know you're involved, of course, in the same type of research and have your own unique and fascinating approaches, which we will get to momentarily. But I'd like to just ask you for a moment your perception of one of the primary axioms of quantum field psychology, which is our book that came out in 2004, and which is a basis for our new film, The Endless Question, which is being released momentarily. We have a distributor on the West Coast. It'll be released globally in the very near future. And one of the primary axioms of quantum field psychology is that the mind is an energy field that transcends the physical brain. I know that you have a lot of insights about that. Could you tell us, please, your point of view about that concept?
Let me tell you, Ron, that this concept, even when it seems so modern in these times for many people, this concept was very ancient in the area where I grew up and I lived in the Andes. You know that here in the Andes, where I'm right now, they say that there was a special energy that they called kausai in ancient Quechua tongue, that means energy that give existence to everything that you see in the material world, in the planet, wherever you go. This energy is everywhere, that they can grasp more easily. But it's a wonderful teaching that was all around this place for thousands of years.
Yes. Yeah, that's what really fascinated me when you told me about your research into the Andean codes.
Yeah. You know, this I was lucky to be trained very in my life by a great master that was maybe one of the last links of this ancient civilization here in the Andes, who taught me this concept of kausai and many others. And among those others, we have what he called the Andean codes. These codes are so ancient, nobody knows when they started here in the Andes. And many wise men of the past taught these teachings of the Andean codes to their people many thousands of years ago. And they say that there were 7 codes in existence that could explain everything in life, and why you're living your life, how you're having some results in your life, and if you're happy or unhappy. And these are the 7 Andean codes, which have been teaching through books and lessons and seminars to some people. And I think that this is a teaching that should be teach to everybody today in this very chaotic world we are living now, to explain and to understand why life is like it is now why we are living the life we are living, and give many explanations that you cannot have in other way. It's very important, Ron, that you reminded me of these 7 Indian codes.
Yes, that's great insight. I think it's really fascinating that these concepts go back to thousands of years ago, source unknown. The implication might be that they were taken from perhaps Atlantis 10,000 years ago and hidden away up in the mountains of Peru to keep them safe. And later from the conquistadores, you told me stories about how they invaded the area, had destroyed many people, but they were driven away from where these codes were directly hidden. We'll get to that in a moment. I want to get more to the exact, more information about the exact codes. What's fascinating is that, as you just stated, quantum field psychology is a reformulation, not intentionally, but it really came to me from the world of abstract thought for studying mathematics and physics and psychology, that you could express how the mind works as an energy field in terms of topological mathematics, calculus, and quantum physics. So we put together an entire new approach where we showed the formulas, the concepts, the axioms and lemmas of how the mind can be expressed as an energy field, and it makes perfect sense. So it creates a coincidence between the spiritual aspects and the scientific. So it can be used as an argument that spiritual science is science, and science has a spiritual nature as well, that all physical reality has a spiritual basis to it, that everything that exists, as you just mentioned, in the material world has an energy world correlate, and our thought energy is very real and has an impact upon the physical world around us. So it's very interesting that these ideas keep resurfacing and coming to people throughout history in different forms. And I know you agree with that from your research, your studies, and your involvement in the higher mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, what you're doing is to make a presentation of very, very ancient teachings that were taught here in the Andes, but science now, and through your efforts, through the effort of many others who have been involved in the quantum physics, are reaching the same truth that these ancient people found thousands of before they disappeared. And they just left some hints, very important hints that I was taught when I was very young, and that shows the same truth that quantum physics is now discovering. That's amazing. When the truth is the truth, from different areas and from different viewpoints, people reach to the truth. And you are getting the truth that was taught many thousands of years here, as you say, before the Atlantis. Because I was a couple of weeks ago in this ancient monument that still exists in Chile and also in Peru, Chile where I live, and also in Peru, but especially in Peru, that was the center of these ancient civilizations, that where Chile was also a part of this ancient empire that existed here. And when you see this monuments made out of stone, huge stones that which weight is, and if they advance in the science so much as they did, because you cannot explain how they could move those stones in Egypt.
Yes, that really is fascinating, isn't it?
That you can understand that maybe they were the same civilization that after the sinking of the huge. These guys were the same guy. Some went to the east, some went to the Andes, and they encircled the earth with these ancient teachings. Luckily, we are here in the Andes, and in the Andes, there are some people who kept these teachings secretly kept. And I was lucky to be taught with these guys, and I could understand these teachings, and that's why we have been talking lately between you and me, that you are reaching the same basis that this ancient civilization over before they and the the Indian codes are very special teachings that allow to understand reality as it is, basis,
Yes.
as you have been saying
Yes. Yeah.
in your books.
Yeah. It's really fascinating that you come up with, they came up with, thousands of years ago, interesting concepts and metaphors they created, which we'll get to in a moment, various metaphors to express different levels of consciousness, that a person can evolve from a lower level of consciousness through life to a higher level, and that many people exist in a certain state of mind, which they create by what they dwell upon, what they focus upon, what they feel, what they practice, and the world reflects back to them what they are projecting. I often tell people we work with that much of perception is projection. We project on the world around us what's inside of us, and it reflects back to us. We found ways to express that in terms of mathematics and physics to make more sense to the scientific world. Of course, what we run into is a tremendous amount of resistance from the world of science, from psychologists, from psychiatrists. We do find that physicists, engineers, and mathematicians tend to respond more closely to quantum field psychology because they understand it. Whereas the vast majority of psychologists, it seems, really are not, their favorite subject is not mathematics or physics. They tend to be more on the verbal side and using empathy and intuition. And so there's a little bit of blockage there, but it's taking time to get through. That's why we created the movie, which we'll tell more about in a little bit, The Endless Question, based on quantum field psychology. But it really is fascinating that how to bring those to a much higher level with your own research.
Yeah. These ancient civilizations were different to our civilization, to our current civilization, in the way that they developed themselves. They didn't only advance in science. They only advanced in the study of human beings. That was very important, because they could understand many things that are very important for us today in this very troubled civilization we're living now, where the weather is changing. There's a lot of chronic disease, there's a lot of problem, politics, and everything. Economy is a disaster in many places. And these guys, this ancient civilization had not those problems, because they evolved at the same time in the material world and the spiritual world. And that's something we must learn from them.
Yes.
Indian code and this teaching of the past are now a light for us to understand us and to advance spiritually as well.
Yes.
Materially, as we are, we have advanced a lot, but not at the same time in our spirit, and our soul, and our mind.
Exactly. Great insight. Yeah, we're going to get more of that here in a few moments. And we're also going to talk about how we've been developing a program of teaching for various levels to do seminars and webinars combining the Indian codes with quantum field psychology we've worked on for a while. And now we're going to take a break here in a moment. And this is Mind Shock with Dr. Ron Dalrymple interviewing Dr. Rod Fuentes. We'll be back in a moment. Have you ever been on a bus or in a store and you feel somebody's eyes upon you? You turn around, you look directly at them. Now, how is that possible? How could you feel that? Today we're going to talk about a whole new theory of mind called quantum field psychology.